first question I got from Suhana is my inspiration. So I am an engineer, and after doing my engineering, I was working in private sector, and I also worked with some NGOs alongside. While working there, I realized that I should do something for the people. So I quit my job and I was doing um, skill training kind of work under the government. Based on those experiences, I was motivated to sit for the civil services, and then I wrote the exam. I hope this answers. Next question is, after 9th, if we started preparation of civils, it will be safe or they may go to stress? If you're saying about class 9th, like 9th standard, then I would suggest that please do not start civil services preparation from 9th standard. You are a child and you should be enjoying your life and, you know, studying what you are studying in school rather than thinking about the civil services at that stage. So do not overstress yourself. Just do what they're teaching you in school and focus on your personality development. Read if you like to read, play if you like to play, do whatever you like and do your schooling properly. When did you started your IAS journey? I'm from 2018 batch, so I started in 2018. Then inspiration, how many marks I got? I got total 1055 marks in civil services. I got 868 marks in mains and 187 or something in interview. Someone from the academy, can you please acknowledge if everybody is able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, your voice is audible. Yeah.
Thank you. Kindly do not send any more questions because I need to be answering all of them. How did you overcome distractions? So it's a difficult thing, first of all. It is very important to stay disciplined during the civil services examination. And while I say that, I would also suggest that civil services should not be taken as a very strict kind of thing that you have to bind yourself. So you should give yourself some time. Distractions should not be completely thrown out of your life, because that would create a kind of disbalance in your life. You will not be able to maybe concentrate properly. You will always be thinking about something. So it's better that when you want to enjoy, give yourself a little time to enjoy, a little time to chill out, a little time to relax, a little time to spend with your family or friends, so that your mind is balanced. Spending 1 or 2 hours in a week doing something you like will not affect your preparation at all. So do not think about sacrificing everything for the exam. Just make sure that you are doing everything properly, you are doing your preparation properly. And when you want to relax, when you are stressed because of the preparation, or when you are saturated after studying, and in that condition you should give yourself some time to relax and cool down, so that after that you can again sit and study properly. You can certainly get away from social media, like Facebook and WhatsApp. That would be always helpful. So I'll focus on more strategy related questions from now. Tips for becoming an IAS. Strategy. So since there are a lot of questions concerning strategy, I'll take the strategy thing first. So consider a civil services examination as something where you need to have 2-3 things for sure. One is your discipline. Second is your honesty with preparation. And third is your patience. These three things are very important. When you are preparing for civil services, then prepare for all the three stages. I will start with the syllabus. I'm considering that most of you are aspirants and you understand the civil services syllabus. So I'll take it from that perspective. First thing is, which is very important for all of you, is to know the civil services syllabus so that you know what you should be studying and what you should not be studying. For instance, if I take the Hindu newspaper, then I will get a lot of news from that newspaper. So I should be knowing which I have to study and what I do not have to study. For that, you need to understand the syllabus very well. For instance, if there is some political rivalry going on, then that will certainly be covered by all newspapers, but that is not in your UPSC syllabus. So you do not have to study about such news items. Just focus on what is there on your UPSC syllabus. Next thing, when you are preparing, when you know the exam syllabus, after that you should move towards knowing the previous year question papers of the exam. Previous year question papers you will easily find everywhere. So always go through those question papers and understand that what kind of questions UPSC has been asking. UPSC will be shifting its pattern of questions from sometimes more analytical to sometimes more factual. So you have to, keep seeing the trend and prepare accordingly. After that, I will be speaking about, let's say, stage wise. So prelims preparation. From my journey, I would say that I wrote 3 prelims, and initial 2 prelims I could not clear. I cleared in my 3rd attempt. So I would say that prelims today is not a very easy phase to crack in UPSC. For prelims, 2-3 things are very important. First thing which is very important is practice. You should be practicing as many test series papers as you can, and always spend time with the question paper after you are done with the exam. For instance, suppose that today is a test series scheduled and you wrote the test. After some time, you will get the answer key from the relevant coaching institute. So you would match and find how many questions were correct for you. You will get your score and then you finish up that paper. I suggest that you do not finish it there. After you are done with matching your score, you should analyze that paper very well. So you should be able to identify what questions you did wrong and why. First thing, you analyze in which subjects or in which topics you are wrong, and you focus on those arenas more. Second thing, you focus on how you should be, improving your score. So what I used to do is, when I have this question paper and suppose that a question here written, I did it wrong. So from the answer key, the explanation, I would write nearby, like what is the related information about that question, which I did not know. And in the question paper, I used to mention. And I used to revise those question papers again and again so that I am able to know about the things I did not know before. After that, in prelims, you are practicing. After you are practicing, you are also studying the answer key you have been provided. Then what you should do is discuss with co-aspirants. For students who are struggling with prelims, like writing exam many times and still not able to, crack prelims, for them, interaction with other students is very important, and it will be very helpful also. Because in prelims, as I understand it, some people have this instinct to really solve the prelims MCQ question papers, and they're able to score well. And some students are not able to do that. So in that case, you should sit with other students and try to learn the tricks of solving answer papers. For instance, I'll give you a small example. Once while we were preparing, I was preparing with Insights in Bangalore. So after writing a test series, we were all discussing, 2-3 friends. We discussed how we always discussed how we approached a question without seeing the test series answers. So each of us would be discussing that how and why we chose a specific option for a question. So there was a question about a tribe living somewhere, and the question was where which state this tribe belonged to. So one of the aspirants there, one of my friends, he had answered it correctly, just because he focused on the sound. For instance, the sound of a word. You, from various aspects, from movies also, you will get that in that area this kind of words are spoken. So just from the sound of that word, he was able to decode that which state it was from. So you can learn such kind of tricks with other aspirants. I think there are lots of questions. I would request the moderator to please give me questions, because a lot of questions are coming and I'm not able to, keep a track of all of these. So kindly.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. No problem.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever is more important for the students, I would like to answer that. Effective timetable, I see coming a lot of time. So for timetable, I used to divide my time daily. For the basic things, I think all of you would do that. First thing is, giving time for the newspaper, then giving time for answer writing, giving some time for your optional paper, giving some time for prelims preparation. These 4 things you should definitely be doing. Apart from this, you can do something which you want to focus on. For sometime you would be writing essay, sometime you would be writing ethics, sometime you will be focusing on prelims answer writing, prelims answer like question solving, all those kind of things. So your timetable should have at least 4 things, and apart from that, 1/5 slot for doing something you think is important for the day. I used to prepare a checklist later. The checklist used to be same as my timetable, and I used to tick on that every night, so saying whether I was able to do it or not. Suppose I wanted to do answer writing every day, but I did only on 4 days a week, so I would tick only 4 days a week. That what happens mostly with aspirants is that you would practice 4 days a week, but you would remember the 3 days you did not practice more. So that leads to demotivation a lot. When I started preparing the checklist, I was able to see that how many days I have actually done answer writing preparation, how many days I've actually done essay writing or ethics writing or prelims question solving and such kind of things. So on the end of a month, I would know what all I have actually done. That used to give me a lot of confidence that it's not that I am not able to do anything. I'm doing my job, but I do miss also sometimes. The checklist I prepared was like the first. I used to prepare is month wise. So in the column section, you can write 1, 2, 3, 4 date wise, 1 to 31, and the columns would be like first thing answer writing. So if I did on 1st of say June, I did answer writing, then I would tick. If I did not do, then I would not tick that. So I used to prepare that checklist properly. And second thing is reading for prelims. That I would tick if I have done. Essay writing, that I would tick if I have done. Optional studying, that I would do if I tick I have done. So likewise, I used to prepare the checklist, and it really helped me analyze what all I have done, what all I have not done in a month, and it boosted my confidence to a good extent.
So here is an interesting
moderator.
Yeah.
Yes.
How
yes,
is your
please.
experience in foundation course in Mussoorie?
Okay. So certainly Mussoorie Academy is a very nice place to be. At moments when we go there, we are, we are having this opinion that it's a place to completely enjoy. So it's not a place to completely enjoy. You are forced to sit for classes almost the entire day and you would not like it. But then you enjoy that place very much. You make really good friends, and the facilities for everything is good. They organize there a lot of activities in all aspects: sports, painting, cooking, cultural, academic, quiz, etc., drama. So whatever you are interested in, you can participate, and you would enjoy that place. All the Masuri itself being a very beautiful place, and apart from that, the academy is also very beautiful. So it was a very good experience in foundation course.
So how is your journey as an IS officer till now?
If I tell you honestly, then the journey has been okay. I have enjoyed being here a lot, but the thing is that we are not exposed to the realities of the service at all before we come into the service, and before the district training also we are not able, we do not know anything about the realities of field, the realities of administration, and the realities of service per se. So the expectations and the images we have in our mind, the reality is actually very different from that. I would not say that the civil services is a place which does not give you an opportunity to work for the people, but it certainly does not give that to you in a way you would have thought. Just say we would be always thinking that we'll be doing this for the people, we'll start a project and make sure that there is employment, we'll start something and make sure that the schools are running properly, the education system is improved, or somebody would want to be working for women or the health sector. But the real administration functions in a very different manner, and you cannot be focusing on one aspect and doing the job. You have to make sure that all the things are at least running, the system should be running, and in that you will find one or two opportunities to reach out to people and do something for them. But most important thing when you are in the system is to make sure that the system is running, because a lot of things are happening through the system, and the system may not be efficient, may not be very effective, may not be very accessible, but it is the system which does the job for the people. So it may not be reaching all the people, but the people who are able to come in interaction with the system are getting a lot of work done through it. So it is important, and it gets very important that you make sure that the system is up and running, and after that, if you have energies and time left, then you can focus on something. Personally, from my experience, what I've learned is that sometimes some people, based on their own experience and logic and perception, they try to focus on one thing. For instance, some officer would be working on education system more. In that case, if other aspects of administration are neglected, then you get into trouble. Not trouble in the sense that any personal trouble, but people would be starting to face a lot of issues, because other aspects of administration will not be working as effectively as it was working initially. So administration is a very different thing from what we see it from outside, but it gives you opportunities to work for the people in the manner it has been set in the system. Outside that system, it is very not that easy to do something. So your experience will be mostly like very, after some time you will realize that yes, you are working for the people, but certainly not in the manner you wanted to.
Okay. So what can you do whenever you lose your confidence or demotivating situations?
I think the people do not let you get demotivated. If I have a very limited experience, I have been SDM for like 10 months, and before that, district training 1 year. So, based on these experiences, I would say that the people will never let you get demotivated. The system demotivates you at times, but then if you go around, interact with the people, focus on your job, then you will be able to, slide through it.
So
Field
during
experiences
preparation,
are very
ma'am,
important. Yeah.
during preparation, how you motivated yourself?
Acha, so I never forced myself. I was not a student who would be studying 10 to 12 hours a day. I used to study as much as I could, and if I could not, then I would go on a walk. I tried to keep myself cool, and to an extent, I would say that I tried to um, stay as calm as possible. So I would not overstress myself or saturate myself. Sometimes it gets very difficult, especially when we fail in attempts. But then you can take a break. Like my after my first and second prelims, I took a break of 1 or 2 months and then started preparing again. So that ways we can always motivate ourselves. One thing is stay connected with your family, stay connected with your friends. Never ever do this thing that you have to sacrifice your family and friends for this preparation. You do not have to do that. You just need to study 6-7 hours in a regular pace. If someday you're not able to do that, then that also is fine. But when you're studying, you should make sure that you are studying properly at that point of time.
Okay. So what is the family life as a female IS officer? How can you are balancing your work and your personal life?
That's a very difficult question. And I would say that balancing this thing is very difficult because I have to live alone. My parents do not live with me, and my in-laws also do not live with me. So most of the time I'm staying alone only. So family-wise, it is very difficult, and we do not get those many leaves also to be able to spend time with the family. As female officers, this is certainly difficult to manage family life. But this is what it is. I think we have to do something. We chose this career, so we should be able to, take the experiences as they are. It's not very encouraging. I'll not be very, I will not be wrong with the female officers and aspirants who would be officers and aspirants who are listening to me. This is not a very happy, thing to discuss about, because for female aspirants and most of the female officers, all of my batchmates, most of them I interact with, we tend to, end up alone most of the times. So do not take this as a this privilege, or do not get demotivated out of it. Always find the objective because of which you started this journey, and that will help you stay motivated.
So was there any plan B, ma'am, if you wouldn't get into this civil services?
Initially there was no plan B, but after 2 failed attempts, when I wrote my third prelims, I was like, if this time also it does not work out, then I'll have to find something else. So after writing prelims in like after a month, I decided that I should write GRE and go for MS. So I wrote GRE that year, and had I not cleared prelims that year, I would have gone for MS.
So what is your optional?
My optional was sociology.
So how much time will it take to qualify civil service examination for an average student?
1 year. 1 year. See, very intelligent aspirants, we would say, like IITians also I've seen, they take a lot of years, and average students also are able to do it in one attempt. So one attempt is something, if you take that seriously and do it properly with a good strategy and honesty, then you'll be able to do it in 1 year. For an average student, my take today is 1 year.
You have committed in first 2 attempts.
Sorry?
Mistakes you have committed in your first 2 attempts.
Okay, so my first attempt I gave in 2015. At that point of time, I had studied the syllabus, but I had not practiced like this question solving MCQs, test series kind of thing. I had not done during my first attempt. So that was a very big mistake. One or two tests I would have written, that too not very well. So I had no exposure of answering MCQs. That, and also I did not study anything else apart from the basic books, not even all of them then, but I had studied only from books and newspapers, and based on that I wrote the exam. So that was a mistake I should not have done. Now, based on that, you cannot clear UPSC because apart from knowledge, it also requires smartness, practice, and routine. So all those things I missed. In next attempt, I did all of that. I joined Insights in Bangalore, and there I did all the Insights test series solving. I missed that year by just 0.33 marks, 0.34 marks in that prelims. But I would say I made some silly mistakes I would not have made. I remember in that prelims I answered around uh, more than 84 questions. I think 84 questions I answered that year. On my own, I had answered just, I think 72 or 73. But then I remembered everybody saying that you should answer more because the competition is very high and with less attempts, you would not be able to clear. So, based on that experience, I thought that these are very few, and I answered more questions, like 10, 12 more questions I attempted. Unfortunately, most of them went wrong. I missed by 0.34 marks. So that was a major learning from me for me, because I had been attempting as many questions only as much as I was sure. So I used to score decently because I would only attempt things I would know mostly. So, had I restricted myself to answering those 72, 73 questions only, I would have cleared that prelims. But I went on other strategy. I listened to what others had to say based on their experiences, and that went wrong for me. So we should understand our strengths and weaknesses in this exam very well. If we are doing something, it should be based on our own experience, because everybody is different. They have their own strengths and weaknesses. Somebody would be attempting all 100 questions and clearing, and somebody would be attempting only 60, 65 questions and still clearing. So clearing is more important. Understand which group you are in, and based on that, study.
Okay. What are your suggestions for a working woman who are preparing for civil services, ma'am?
Acha. Like any working male or female, I don't think that makes a difference. If you're working, then I think it will take little more of your time in a day to prepare. Most important thing is you should be focusing on the basics first. Go finish off your basics. For me, usually what I have advised to aspirants since last 2 3 years, and the thing I have seen most of the aspirants success are able to get success after that, is that start your test series preparation after you have finished reading the NCRTs and basic books once. So I told some of the aspirants to do this, and I've observed that such aspirants have been able to clear prelims in one attempt. This thing certainly works. Once you have finished the syllabus, you have read all the NCRTs, you have read the newspapers regularly for like 1 or 2 months, and you have read the Lakshmikant book and something for environment, whatever is running these days. So if you do this much, and after your first reading of these things, you are starting to take test series, then the chances of doing well in the test series increases, and your ability to gain from the test series also increases. To identify your mistakes, to get rid of those mistakes, it increases after you have at least one exposure of the syllabus. So you should do it after that.
So most of them are asking did
I answer that question?
If you want to add, you can add, ma'am.
What was your question? Sorry, I forgot.
Actually, it's how to balance the working and preparation.
Okay, so working, sorry. So when you're working, I think I was not working when I was preparing, so I won't be able to answer that well. But I would suggest that first read all the things and then start taking test series. Do answer writing practice at least for 3 months. Like I always suggest 100 days of answer writing practice whenever you can, whenever you think you are ready for answer writing practice. After that, do this for 100 days. You do not need to do it all the time and throughout the 1 year you are preparing. Do it for 100 days and then keep visiting them. After that, just write test series in mains. So this thing will help for working aspirants. Apart from that, working aspirants gain things from their personal experiences also. This also I have learned and observed in academy. For all the people who were working aspirants in the academy, I saw that their optional paper something mostly revolved around their work, and that gave them an edge. And also for working aspirants, the level of confidence and the sense of security is higher, so they are able to stay more calm and stress free during the examination, because they know that they are not losing something, they will be gaining or not losing. So those things help, I think.
Yeah, sure. So most of them asking about your rank. I think you got 78th, right, ma'am?
Yes, I got 78th rank. Yes.
Yeah. So it was very happy news while after seeing your rank.
Yeah. Yes, it's a happy day for you, because that day is the day when the Hindu calls you for their news item. So you have been reading the Hindu every day, and then that day you get a call from the Hindu saying, asking about your journey and everything. So that is certainly a very happy day. I got 78th rank.
Yes. So a few of them asking about your interview experience and how to face interview and fear, and how to get any techniques to get more marks.
Okay, so in interview, the panels are different and the scoring by different panels are different. So if we ignore that fact, after that, for getting better marks in interview, is first thing which is most important is to be honest in the with the interview panel, because from my experiences from other aspirants, like we tend to meet a lot of officers who would say that they used to get low marks in interview earlier. So from those experiences, I would say that honesty in answers is in your interview panel is very important. You should not be lying at all in your interview. Just tell what you know correctly, and if you do not know anything, accept it properly that I do not know that. That thing is very important. After that, staying cool is important. Sometimes people get very much nervous during the interview. So for that, you should work on yourself. For instance, I used to practice before the mirror. This is a common advice given to aspirants preparing for interview, that prepare in front of the mirror so that you are able to see how you are answering and you're not very much nervous. You get used to the process of interview. After that, you should listen to the questions very carefully. For instance, in my interview, sometimes the questions would be very long. They would start discussing things with you. So you should be attentive enough to understand that what actually they want you to answer. Sometimes they would discuss, okay, I was posted there, so I observed this and this thing happened. So then there would come a question. In that case, you should be attentive enough to understand the question they have asked and just answer that. And if you do not know, say that you do not know. Focus on your DAF, which is the common advice given. You should be knowing everything about your DAF. There should not be things which you are not able to answer. Sometimes we write that we love playing a game, but we do not know some basic concepts about the game. For instance, I would tell you from my experience is that if you are writing about a particular sport, so know about, if there are some mathematical or any scientific related aspects about the game, so you should be knowing about it. Like cricket, if you're writing, so ball swings So what law of physics will apply? Such kind of questions are sometimes asked, and people get, people find it difficult to answer. So think on those lines also, and prepare your DAF very well. And dressing also properly is very important during interview. I have seen that sometimes people overdress. For instance, it's very hot summer and still you are going in a coat. That gives a, I am told that that leaves a wrong impression, that you're trying to, impress through your dressing. So be smart enough in your dressing, be simple and sober.
Okay. So sociology, yeah, ma'am, it's fine. Yes. Sociology strategy, any strategy that you followed?
Sociology is a very interesting optional paper. It helps you in a lot of aspects. And for preparing for sociology, I did coaching with in Delhi, Mahapatra sir. So I did not read any books for sociology. I just focused on his notes. One thing for sociology, which is very good, is that you get material for sociology in the newspaper every day. You should be able to enrich your answers based on them. And if you're able to identify the examples from newspaper every day and put it in your sociology answer, then that gives you good marks. That is most important for paper 2 preparation, paper 2 of sociology. So sociology, you should be knowing the basic concepts, read about the thinkers and the theories and everything. The theory part is fine, but in sociology, good marks mostly is given when you are able to, give good examples for the theories you are mentioning. For instance, if you are mentioning that this thinker gave this theory about this social phenomena, then you should be able to give a common, not a common, like a good example from recent times. For instance, recently I saw something and I realized this is a very good social. Yes, I was in a newspaper article. There was this mention about youths and their viewpoint about marriages. How many youth still prefer arranged marriages and love marriages and intercaste marriages. So that study, and there was a study on that, and it was a very good example for writing in caste system related questions in sociology. So whenever you find such kind of studies, social phenomena related studies or social phenomena related examples, for instance, in Bangalore, I used to always see that when people, suppose someone is going on the road and they are on a bike, they cross a temple. So they would stop their bike in front of the temple, open their shoes, like if they're wearing slippers, open their slippers. They would not be getting out of the bike, just open their slippers, bow before the DT, and then take on their slippers and go. So that showed their religious faith a lot. That person is not getting out of the bike, not going into the temple, but still he's getting rid of his slippers and bowing before the DT, and then wearing the slippers and going. So it shows about their religious adherence a lot. Such kind of examples, if you write in your sociology answers, you get good marks. And for sociology, learn about the definitions properly. I would not say that you mug up the definitions. Suppose what is caste system, if it is asked, you should not be mugging up the answer, but you should be having clear answer to that question. What keywords should come in your answer should definitely be there. So practice writing the definition of keywords in sociology, and there are a lot of keywords in sociology. So that is, I think, will help. Practice answer writing a lot. That's it.
Okay. So, ma'am, while NCERT books, did you read those NCERT books, and how to make any notes and revision tips?
I think that was my favorite part of the preparation, reading and making notes of NCERT. Favorite and easiest part of preparation. I think we all enjoy reading NCERTs. And I read all the NCERTs, mostly the old versions of NCERT, old editions. And I used to make notes. I used to write a lot because for me personally, I think I remember and understand more when I write. So I would be opening the book, reading it once, and then I would be making notes out of the NCERTs. And those notes helped me a lot. I focus my preparation based on that. And after some time, when you are doing like test series, preparing from test series, when you go through just your notes, you're able to revise properly. And NCERTs not only just give you knowledge, they help you understand the concepts also very well. I think economy ka NCERT is very, very good. So we should definitely read that. And Indian economy ka, whatever economics related thing is asked in UPSC, they are covered in NCERT very well. So I read from that only. And I think I used to I was able to comprehend economy related news articles and everything decent enough. So NCERTs are very good source for preparing for the example. All the aspirants must read them and make notes out of them in the way you are comfortable. If you are just comfortable with underlining, do it underlining. I used to write and make notes.
Any revision tips?
Revision tips. See, since I cleared on my third attempt, at that point of time, I had made my notes very, very precise kind of things. So I had sheets of paper. I'll share one or two PDFs with you. What I used to do is, suppose I have an A4 sheet paper. On top of that, I would write a keyword, for instance, environment. And I used to write all the environment related examples on that. So, and before exam, before prelims and before mains, I used to revise those papers properly, because once you're preparing, and it is more applicable to the aspirants who are in second or third attempt, because you have already done the preparation for almost 2 years. So when you are revising from those sheets, you know the concepts are there with you in your mind, you understand things, you just forget about the examples. So when you make these A4 sheets where you have examples written with respect to all these keywords, then you're able to remember them, like revise it properly and score well. That helped me very much during mains. In mains, I had this few sheets where just the keyword was written, and then all the examples with respect to that keyword. I would write China and write examples of from news items related to China. I would write Japan and write examples in that A4 sheet. Similarly, social exclusion and examples, environment and examples, women empowerment and examples. So that sheet helped me a lot. And I think for GS3, especially economy portion, I read the economic survey all the 3 years I prepared. And for the last 2 years, for my second and third attempt, 2017 and 2016 economic survey, I wrote the examples from economic survey in those sheets. And I scored very well. I think I got 143 or something in GS3. So that helps a lot if you prepare your examples. I did it towards the end of my preparation, so I could not do for all the keywords I think I should have done, because that was really very helpful for mains. So I would suggest all the aspirants who are struggling to score more in mains to do that.
Wow. Good, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It's really enriching strategy, technique. So this is the one most question is that person is this aspirant is frequently asking. So yes. Are there any inspirational guidelines did you follow during your preparation? Like any quotations or something like that?
Yes, to stay motivated, we do a lot of things. But I think there is a channel on YouTube, Your World Within. There is a guy, he keeps posting some motivational videos. I used to see that. I think they inspired me. Then poems. I am from Hindi belt, so I used to read some Hindi poems, inspiring poems. Apart from that, these two things I think were something to boost my mood whenever I I think I should be studying, but I do not feel like studying, then I would see a video from Your World Within, and then I think I was able to focus on my preparation. So inspiration में ये दो चीजें तो थी. I saw many aspirants in academy. They say that they used to see Labasna videos also. Although I never did, but I think it comes from other successful aspirants, officers who used to see Labasna videos. That is also something which inspires many people. So I think this much. Also, in my third attempt, I started doing meditation. So that is also helpful.
Okay, so you do your book list. Many students or aspirants are asking about your book list.
Book list. I have a post written in Insight's website. I have all the books I used in that post. So you all can refer that, because reading out all the books is a little difficult as of now.
Okay, you can share the link. We can share to the students.
Yes. I'll share the link.
Okay.
Any other question?
Is coaching should necessary, ma'am?
No, coaching is not at all necessary. Rather, I think in hindsight, I would say it is a waste of your time and money, both. So some people may be able to waste their money, but time is certainly which is very important for all of you. So focus on. I don't think coaching institute is important. Yes, coaching institute is only needed for test series question papers and answer keys.
So I think you answered this when you started your preparation. That question is also already repeating. If you want to join late, you can answer. If you don't.
Okay. Sorry.
What actual your preparation, actual preparation, when it was started?
Okay, I started in 2015. In 2015, I wrote my first exam. 14 and then 2015 kind of.
Was there any tough question during your interview?
If you ask about my interview experience, it was a very bad experience, because I felt that I was I don't know. I felt that I would not be getting good marks, but I ended up getting good marks. So the questions sometimes I don't know if you would call them tough, but I was asked a lot of questions like case study kind of questions, that they said that suppose you are in this situation and what you will do, suppose you are in this situation and what you will do, suppose kind of questions rather than factual or something related to my DAF. So a lot of case studies, I think 3-4 case studies and some factual questions also. For instance, I remember 2-3 days before my interview, there was this news item about firepower index, which ranks the I think the military capabilities of countries across the world. So this is something which I as an aspirant usually will not study, because I used to think that factual things take a lot of time, and the input output ratio of reading facts is not very good in the exam. So you would be reading a lot of facts, and then 1 or 2 would come in the exam, and you would be wasting most of your time. So it's better to leave 1 or 2 questions rather than waste so much time. So I did not read such kind of items, but I had just scrolled through that item because it was military index, and because maybe our society is like that, our state of mind is like, you would see where India is and then you would see where Pakistan is. So luckily I was asked this question, the rank of India and Pakistan, and the top 3 countries. So I answered. Such kind of questions were asked, and there were a lot of case studies. So from my interview experience, I felt that I did not do well, and the interview panel also did not respond very warmly to my answers. So most of the time I ended up thinking that I have not answered it well, but they gave me good marks.
Okay. Ma'am, and most of them asking also, there is one question repeatedly. Sociology versus PSIR. If you have any insights, please share with them.
I think for students who, I think political science is a better option. I had chosen sociology, but in my third attempt, I was also of this opinion that political science is a better option.
Okay.
Yes.
So as a SDM, last 10 months, so do your experience and few students also asked, any political pressure that you faced like that?
As an SDM, my experience is good. I have learned a lot of things. Till training, we do not learn much because we are just seeing things, observing things, but we are not doing things. But when you get posted, then only you start doing actual work. You have responsibility and accountability both. So at that point of time, you learn the most. And my experience has been good. From learning experience, I would say that it has been, I have learned a lot, really a lot. I was RO for the assembly elections, and that was a very good experience. And apart from that, the district I am posted in, it is a little bit of a communal district and an Naxal district also. So based on that, a lot of law and order experiences I have had. So it has been a good experience for me till now. And there was one more question about SDMship, and what was the other question?
Any political pressures are there?
Yes, political pressure. Yes. So you get political pressure. I think it is common for all officers. It is common. But it's not that it affects your work a lot. It gives you stress. Sometimes you are working, you are trying to do your best, you are trying to do everything as properly as you can, and then somebody would call you and say that no, you did it because of that prejudice, and you did it because of that influence, and gives puts on allegations on you and blames you for things. So you do not like you get stressed to an extent, but then it does not affect your works. I have not seen any situation where I had to change any decision because of political pressure. I did what I was doing earlier also. So that happens very less when you are, forced to, do something. People would be calling you and putting on pressure, but it's for you to take. It's for just you to listen to and then avoid. Most of the officers do that. Just listen to what they're saying, and you do not have to obey the order, the suggestions or whatever the demands are all the time. So it's okay. It's not something which you will find very stressful in your experience.
No. That's really great. Ma'am, why PSIR is better than sociology? And that's the question.
Okay, so PSIR is better because GS3, your international relations part is covered a lot in PSIR. And PSIR is also better because sociology means sometimes you have to write and write a lot. So finding examples for sociology is a little bit difficult than finding, writing good answers for PSIR. Writing answers for PSIR is a comparatively easy job because sociology, sometimes you have to understand the theory, then write 2-3 thinkers about that concept, the question asked, then their opinion about that question asked, some instantiate those with some examples. So it gets more difficult to manage. In PSIR, the questions will be more like GS like questions, where apart from the theory, I think more of like GS like questions where you can give dimensions to a particular question and then write your answers. So answer writing wise, it is easy. And I think there is some coaching institute whose answers and study material is very good for PSIR. So people are able to score well with less kind of energy given to the subject.
Okay. So, are there anything you want to give, any suggestions to this future IAS aspirants?
I think it's a very good decision which you all have taken to write the exam. It certainly enriches you in a lot of aspects. So I give you my best wishes, and you can contact me when you want if you think that I'll be able to help. I would suggest that practice as much as you can for the exam, for all the three levels, for prelims, for mains, and for interview. You should be practicing as many things as you can. I will share one or two, keywords and all those things which I think helped me during my preparation. So if you follow such things, I'm not suggesting that it will work for everyone, but I think it worked for me. And since I have qualified, it's been almost 3 years now. So in these 3 years, I've been in touch with few aspirants who have followed such strategies, and they also suggest that it helps. So 2-3 things which I told you, I have experimented with other aspirants also, and it helps. So you can also try that. That I would suggest. And best wishes for your exam. Always stay happy, because that is the most important thing. I think whether you come to the join the service, or do not join the service, that is something which should not be bothering you at all during your preparation. Just focus on the exam. Mm, Many times I see that the aspirants are very sincere and still they are not able to clear. One thing I notice in them is that they try to learn about the subject a lot. So always remember that you are reading to clear an exam, not to become a professor of history or geography or political science or sociology. So your aim should be to read only that much which helps you clear the exam, rather than gaining a lot of knowledge on the subject. Have good hold on the basics, know the history of whatever you are studying, but do not try to do PhD on anything. Many aspirants who are very good and very hardworking end up losing a lot of time doing that. So do not do that.
It's really great, ma'am, and inspiring many aspirants, giving you your personal experiences, sharing. And we always, it's great that we always, if you give us time in future also, we will, more aspirants can get insights from your experiences.
If someone hurts me, then what tip did you use to get off from the depression? Well, I don't know. This is a very contextual question. I would do variety of things in variety of such cases. But yes, you should not allow others to hurt you. Just talk to your mother. She'll make you feel better. And thank you, madam. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me with your organization. I'm sure you guys are doing a lot of good work helping so many aspirants achieve their dreams. I hope that I was of some help, and I just said what was in my mind. So I may not have answered all your questions very well. If you think I would be of any help in future, then please feel free to contact me. My best wishes to all the aspirants. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope I was of some help. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.